Good morning, everyone. So I've come out to my very local forest. It's actually a park. It's called the Niendorfgehege here in Hamburg. It's a beautiful park. It's kind of big and full of dog walkers, but I'm trying to find a solitary spot here. Now, the reason I've come out is I'm going to do some lens testing. So I recently acquired the Nikon Ai f1.4, and since before I've had the Pentax-M 1.7. Now that used to be my absolute favorite lens. I think the colors there are amazing, and the rendering is also super good. So I'm very curious to see what it looks like side by side. First up we have the Pentax-M f1.7. You can see how tiny it is. It's absolutely fantastic to carry around these little jewel-like lenses. Now my favorite adapter is the Earth K2Z. Now it doesn't do anything that any other adapter doesn't do. It's a dumb adapter, no electronic contacts or anything like that, but I just really enjoy the design. I think when designing adapters, the manufacturers are clever to make them as simple as possible, not to detract from the vintage styling. I don't really fancy when they put like some orange details on it, or maybe blue or something like that. It should be just plain black with nothing on it. So that's why I prefer the Earth adapters. And here we have the Nikon lens, the f1.4 Ai. And it's not quite as compact as the Pentax lens, but still very compact compared to anything else. And yeah, the handling of it, it's lovely, and nothing to complain about there really. Now with the adapter, I got the same, but a F2Z adapter from Earth as well. Just want to keep it simple and nice. And let's see what it looks like combined. And here we can see they are side by side. And the Pentax is smaller, but not by that much. It's not like it's a huge difference. So you can see it, we're talking about a couple of millimeters smaller, but still you notice it, and it is nicer. And with the adapters on as well, they protrude just about the same. This will be a good spot, I think. So I'm gonna focus from here, then I can get all this for a bokeh test as well when it blurs out in the background. Alright, it's all set up. So now I'm filming it with the 24-70 f4, the Nikon Z lens. So this is where the test's going to be. I'm going to focus on this crest right there. First up is the Nikon. There we go. The Nikon f1.4 shot at 1.4 now. And I could already see it is kind of fuzzy. You don't get the same sharpness that I did with the Nikon Z f4, which is, of course, it does have some pretty good character, I think. Let's step down from 1.4 to f2. There we go, f2. And then from f2 to 2.8. Okay, let's go down to f4. I'm now on the Pentax-M f1.7, filmed at a 1.7. I can already see there is a difference. The Nikon lens seemed to be much bluer, much colder than this. And I think the Pentax wide open looks a bit sharper as well, but I won't know for sure until I get back home and can study the material. Well, let's see, let's do the same thing here. We go down to 2.8, and then we go to 4, f6. Now let's switch over to taking some photos with it so we can compare it, the detail really close. The Nikon wide open is a little bit fuzzy, whilst the Pentax is slightly sharper, I think. But both have a great bokeh, with the Nikon being a little bit smoother. And at f2, I think the Nikon cleans up really well and looks fantastic. And the Pentax looks great at 1.7, I think.
The Nikon looks great at the f2.8, and so does the Pentax as well. So let's zoom in. This is at 200%, and you can see that the Nikon is slightly softer wide open, but not by that much. And at 2.8 they both look very similar and they look fantastic, maybe even with a little bit of an edge to the Nikon.
I'm going to do a super close-up test. So quite often it's with these old lenses, it's they might have like a spot where it doesn't work that good, and quite often it's when you are wide open and got the minimum focus distance. So we're going to do some tests here on these mushrooms. And here we go with the Pentax lens. So I am focusing right here. Now the trick is to get really close with this and see what it looks like. The Pentax closest distance is 0.45. And here's the Nikon shot wide open. It's actually a couple of centimeters closer before you reach the minimum focus distance. Not that it has a huge effect, but I can clearly see it's slightly fuzzier than the Pentax. But it could also be that, well, I'm shooting it at f1.4, and when you're this close, there is pretty much, well, it's a razor sharp depth of field. It's
getting a lot better at f2 already, and at f2.8 I think it overtakes the Pentax in sharpness actually.
Still on the Nikon here, and I moved it back, so I'm now 0.5 instead of 45. So I find sometimes that just not getting as close as possible with the lens, you get much better results. So let's see if that's a fact here. So I'll take a shot with this as well, and then I'll switch over to the Pentax. On the Pentax now, 0.5 away.
Not a huge improvement, to be honest.
Now, why do I do these kind of tests? I think it's quite important, especially when you get some new gear, to get to know it really well, and just put it through a few tests like this helps me quite a lot. And also being able to compare it with other lenses that I've used before, it really makes a difference to know what I'm actually going to use it for, because they all have different characteristics. Like it seems now that the Nikon is way colder than the Pentax is, which is cool, but it also helps me decide when I'm going out what kind of a look I want. And yeah. So I'm going to be walking around now a little bit, try to find just fun things to shoot. I'm still going to shoot one with the Pentax and one with the Nikon, but not being so technical, and just compare and see what the images looks like. I'm on the Pentax now. I was shooting it at f5.6. Gonna switch over to the Nikon now. The Nikon f1.6.
Stop down to f8. Both lenses perform really good. They're very sharp. And I think if we zoom into the corner here, the Nikon, it gets a little smudgy, but not too bad. The Pentax is slightly worse, but I still think it's okay. The bokeh of the Nikon wide open, I think, is absolutely lovely. And if you step down to f2, it still looks good, and it gets a lot sharper and better. And the Pentax is no slouch. I think it looks great as well, wide open. Now let's look at the corners, wide open as well. And it's not too bad, I think. It gets a little bit blurry, of course, but not bad.
I'm on the Nikon right now. Going to be swapping over to the Pentax pretty soon. So this is also shot wide open. And now I'm on the Pentax. So let me know in the comments down below which one you prefer. Do you like the cooler tones of the Nikon, or maybe a bit more neutral tones of the Pentax? So I'm swapping here between, this is 2.0 and this is 1.0. And it looks to me that when you go down to the wide open, you just get a little bit of brightness in the center there. whilst the corners are pretty much the same. So you pretty much only introducing a huge vignette to the image. Let's see if the Nikon does the same. I'm now on the Nikon at f1.4. Let's go up to 2. Swapping between them here really quick. Yeah, I almost think that's pretty much what is happening. So
my final thoughts. So Nikon is great stop down. It's really super sharp. But do I need an f1.4? Maybe I should try Nikon's f1.8 in the future. Because if I have to stop down one stop every time, it kind of loses its appeal to me a bit. But still, I think it's two fantastic lenses, and I'm going to shoot them both in the future for sure.
that's it. So I've been shooting quite a lot this morning, and it's been a super morning, I have to say. So it's going to be very interesting to see what it looks like when I come into the computer. But you have, of course, already seen it. But I am in the dark. But if you like this kind of lens tests and photographic adventure, why not consider subscribing? It would help me a lot. And I'll hope to see you around next time.